Your brain can force you to destroy your entire life. It's not depression or a breakdown. It's something else. You're wired to transform, and transformation always requires dissolution first. There's this penguin in Antarctica that walked away from its colony toward the mountains, 70 kilometers inland, where there's nothing but ice and death. Researchers tried stopping it, brought it back, but it turned around and walked toward the mountains again. Werner Herzog filmed it, called it deranged, but it's not deranged. Some people are wired the same way. They walk away from everything even when it looks like suicide from the outside, and what they're walking toward isn't death. It's metamorphosis, and metamorphosis happens in 5 phases. Phase 1, the pull. The first stage is the pull, and it doesn't feel like a choice. One day you wake up, and the life you built, the one that makes perfect sense to everyone else, feels completely wrong, like wearing clothes that don't fit anymore, and you can't explain it because logically everything's fine. You have what you need: stability, people who care, a future that looks good. But there's this pull, this internal compass that's pointing somewhere else entirely. Psychologists call it behavioral displacement. Your brain stops aligning with safety and starts aligning with something you can't even name yet. And some people are wired so that once they feel this pull, they can't ignore it. Their brain locks onto this singular vision, this version of themselves they need to become, and everything else becomes background noise. It's called monotropic focus, one goal eclipsing everything, not because you don't care about the other things, but because the pull is stronger than the fear. And that's the first stage, the moment you realize you can't stay as you are. Phase 2, the break. So you start to leave, and immediately everyone intervenes. They'll say you're making a mistake, that you're throwing your life away, that you're being selfish, reckless, delusional, and they're not wrong to worry. From their perspective, you are walking toward destruction, but here's what they're not seeing. They're watching the break. The moment you leave the colony, and breaks are violent, they look destructive. What they don't see is why you have to leave. Kierkegaard wrote about this: the anxiety of freedom, the dizziness you feel when you realize you actually have a choice, and the weight of that choice is so overwhelming, most people would rather not have it. But some people can't unsee it once they've seen it, so they break away, not because they want to, because staying would break them in a worse way. Phase 3, the cocoon. And then comes the hardest part, the cocoon. This is the stage where you're not the old thing anymore, but you're not the new thing yet either. You're just formless. A caterpillar doesn't gradually turn into a butterfly, it enters a cocoon. And inside that cocoon, its body dissolves completely. Digestive enzymes break down its tissues into liquid. If you cut open the cocoon halfway through, it doesn't look like transformation. It looks like death. And this is what the mountains represent. The place where the old form has to dissolve so the new one can exist. Most people never talk about this stage because it's the hardest to explain. You're not who you were, but you don't know who you're becoming. Your relationships don't make sense anymore. The goals you had feel irrelevant. The version of yourself people knew is gone. And people watching from the outside see this dissolution and they panic. They think you're lost, that something went wrong. But dissolution isn't failure, it's process. Phase 4, who makes it? So here's the question: why do some people emerge and others die in the cocoon? If you stay in the dissolution long enough, the butterfly comes out. That's how it works. But not everyone stays. And it's not about talent or potential. It's about how long you can tolerate being nothing. Most people can't handle the formless period. They need to be something, even if it's the wrong thing. So they go back to the colony before the reconstruction finishes. And that's the real death. Not staying in the cocoon, going back. Because once you've started dissolving, you can't reassemble into what you were. If you go back, you're living as a half-dissolved version of your old self. The people who make it out, they can sit in the uncertainty without needing an answer. They don't know what they're becoming. They don't know if it'll work, but they stay anyway. Phase 5, the emergence. And look, not everyone makes it out. That's the part people don't want to talk about. Some people enter the cocoon and never emerge. Van Gogh walked toward his mountains, entered the dissolution, and he died there. Broke, alone, paintings unsold, completely misunderstood by everyone around him. He never got to see what his work became, never saw the emergence. The cocoon killed him before the transformation finished. Sylvia Plath, same thing. She entered the formless stage and couldn't survive it. The dissolution was too much. The cocoon isn't a guarantee. It's a risk, and the risk is real. But here's the other side. Some people do emerge, and when they do, what comes out is completely unrecognizable from what went in. The butterfly doesn't remember being a caterpillar. The structure is entirely different. The capabilities are different. The world it can access is different. Kobe Bryant talked about this. He said he had to kill the version of himself that wanted to be liked. That version had to die, so the version that could win championships could exist. That's emergence. The old self doesn't get upgraded. It gets replaced. And the people who stayed in the colony, they'll look at what emerged and not recognize it. They'll think it's a different person entirely. And in a way, they're right. Because metamorphosis doesn't refine you. It rebuilds you from nothing. The penguin's compass isn't broken. It's pointing toward the cocoon, toward the dissolution that has to happen before the new form can exist. If someone's walking away from everything that made sense, towards something they can't name, they're not walking toward death. They're walking toward metamorphosis. And what emerges won't be who they were. It'll be who they were always supposed to become.